Welcome back to our digs here at League on Lock. My name is Eric, and with Worlds done, it's time to look ahead to the offseason because rumor mills are swirling as always, and 2018 was NA's turn for franchising, right? Quickly turned it around for 2019 in EU, and we have had not many announcements, but all of a sudden, pretty much all the teams are filled out. We obviously heard about Astralis likely joining in 2019 a little bit earlier, but now it looks like 4 more teams are not yet confirmed. They're still pending, but looks like this is how the EU LCS will be shaping up in 2019. The 4 new teams we're looking at: SK Gaming, North, Rogue, and Movistar Riders. Now, some of these names are probably not that familiar. SK Gaming, obviously, familiar household name, used to be in League of Legends, still a big CSGO team. You had the likes of Forgiven. Ocelot's original team was on this. Plenty of familiar faces, and they got some investors from Deutsche Telekom out of Germany, so they've got some serious financial backing. No surprise that they're coming back into the EU LCS. Astralis, we already talked about a couple of weeks ago, but there have been plenty of rumors already going around with this squad. And if you don't know Astralis, because they've never really been in League of Legends before, they're one of, if not the most dominant teams in CSGO right now. They won the Face It Major a month ago or so. One of the most recognizable brands in the CSGO scene, and they're Danish-based. This is the team that Deficio is working with in some capacity as an advisory role or a GM, I don't know, but he's working with this squad. They're a Danish organization. The entire roster on their CSGO squad is Danish, so expect them to be signing plenty of Danish players coming 2019. And are there any good Danish players? Well, let's see. Froggen wants to come back in 2019. Any other good mid laners that are potentially Danish? Well, Caps, Senkux, probably not going to be Semkux, but obviously Froggen, Bjergsen, Caps, Jensen, all these guys are Danish. Sven and Mithy are, this is the point in the season where we hear crazy rumors that basically anyone is making up Sven and Mithy going to Astralis, or Sven and Froggen. There's really no merit to any of these rumors, but you can expect Astralis, because they're coming into League of Legends, to take it seriously, especially hiring Deficio. I expect them to have a pretty sick-looking roster coming 2019. The other teams, again, some brands that you're probably not as familiar with. Rogue Esports is actually a North American-based team. They're in CSGO as well. Mostly North American players, and Steve Aoki is one of the main investors in that squad. So interesting to see an NA-based squad that's actually going over the pond to EU to work out there. And we kind of saw EU teams apply for franchising in NA. So Rogue heading over there. And then you got North Esports, who are owned by FC Copenhagen. Again, another smaller brand that you're probably not as familiar with because they've only really been in other esports titles, but they're coming in with a football club's backing. So obviously Riot liked the application that they had going forward. And then Movistar Riders, they played in the EU Masters. They're a Spanish organization, and they're backed by a big Spanish telecom company. So they obviously have the financial backing to get into 2019, and maybe some of the players from their European Masters squad make the cut or in the LCS, but you got to expect that they're going to have a very different looking roster. And keep in mind, the offseason changes were already pretty insane this year coming into EU. They're only going to be crazier because you've got basically the entire Splice roster that's up for grabs. You've even heard coming out of NA, the likes of PoE has said Optic's given him the ability to talk to other teams. So PoE coming back to EU, there's a very high chance of that, I feel like. Sven, at least, is speaking and sounds like he's still going to be with TSM in 2019, but I wouldn't be surprised if he went back to EU. And a lot of these guys that have come over, Febevin, go back to EU because franchising is there. They wanted to make some money in NA. Well, now you can make some more money in EU. So I wouldn't be shocked if a lot of these guys were heading back to EU. But it'll be interesting to see how big a fan base the likes of Rogue and North can actually get in the EU LCS against these established brands in the likes of Fnatic G2, obviously the 5 returning teams, and then someone like Astralis who has a big following from other games, kind of like when Optic came over, although Optic basically had no fans in 2018. But Astralis is going to have a big backing behind them as well. So how are these other teams going to compete when it comes to fan experiences and things like that? We saw how great 100 Thieves did as a completely new brand in North America. None of these are completely new brands coming in. So we'll see how they can develop in the EU LCS. Sven seems like he's set on TSM for 2019. Someone who will not be on TSM next year is Mike Young. That's right, the Mike Young experiment is over for TSM. He took to the Team Solo Mid subreddit basically saying he will not be returning with the team in 2018 and he will be looking for other team options come the spring split. Now, TSM, it's been a while since we talked about them because they were not at Worlds, in case you didn't know, with their absolutely stacked roster. Mike Young came in fresh off Rookie of the Split with P1 with absolutely absurd expectations. Did not live up to the hype in that regard. We did not see nearly the same Mike Young that we saw with Phoenix 1. He did not look comfortable on TSM. He did not look as comfortable under that massive spotlight and pressure point that it is when you're on TSM, and specifically the jungler of TSM. They went with Grig in summer for the entirety of the split. I thought Mike Young might get some games during some of the slumps that TSM went through in summer, but it was not the case. He did not even perform well on the academy squad for TSM. I hope this isn't a career ender for him because the kid's only 19 years old still. I'd love to see him get another opportunity on a team, either staying on an academy squad or eventually getting promoted to an LCS squad. There's no doubt that Mike Young has tons of talent. TSM was just not the right fit for him. I'd love to see him on another squad that's a little bit outside of the spotlight where he can more develop into himself as a player and as a person and personality in this scene. That's all the time today for League Unlocked. My name's Eric. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.